to another heartbreaking hotel quarantine story that's emerging this morning. This is Anthony McCormick, a Cairns man who's been living in Canada, racing home to his mum in a Brisbane hospital after she was diagnosed with cancer.
So I went to school with Anthony at St Augustine's in Cairns. He's right now in New South Wales quarantine, has been granted an exemption to leave. However, Queensland Health are denying his entry to the state. Anthony joins us now from hotel quarantine. Anthony, I wish it was under better circumstances, my man, in talking to you. Firstly, how are you doing? How is your mum doing?
G'day, Carl. Yeah, she passed away last night, and so that was.
Oh, mate.
You know, we thought we might get another week out of that. So it's sort of the end of the road there.
Oh, mate.
So she was basically put on blood transfusions for as long as she could stand it until I could get there. You know, she was very upset that I couldn't get in there to see her, and that was really what she was hanging on for. And you know, so you know, the situation is, you know, I've got 12 days in this room now to sort of process this thing on my own.
Oh, mate, that is just.
You know, I can't get any bearings on the situation. It's, you know, there's no context here. There's no feedback. I can't touch anyone. I can't see anyone. You know, beyond the odd sort of Zoom call, and you know, it's just sort of me and these four tiny walls for the next 12 days, and. So there's plenty of sides to this story. You know my mum. It's all about my mum. She was desperate to see me. You know, my stepdad is now all on his own. You know, he'll have some support coming in shortly for him. And you know, having known what I know now, and the impossibility of it, I would have been far better off staying in Canada, to be honest.
Oh, mate,
where my wife is, where I have freedom to get outside and so forth. So it's really turned bad in a whole lot of ways for everyone involved. Yeah.
Mate,
We had no idea, Anthony. We thought, you know, we were going to try and hopefully get you out to see your mum in time to hear that news,
yeah.
and to see you alone.
No, it's truly, it's awful, man. And the pain that you're feeling right now. We're feeling a tiny bit of it, and we didn't even know your mum. We're so sorry.
Yeah, it's you know, it is what it is. You know, the heaps of what I had to go through to get here were quite monumental. You know, I had to get a negative COVID test. I had to get that done within 72 hours of. You know, my last connecting flight. You know, that was that was a mission in itself. Trying to, you know, I lost 12 hours in that 72 because of the connecting flight window. So that was an exercise in precision to get that done. You know, then there's almost no flights going to Brisbane, by the way, from the you know, the west coast of North America. You know, everything goes through Sydney, and I suppose that's because of the reduced passenger demand. And you know, if there was sort of one or two flights that, you know, would have got me to Brisbane directly, were going to cost me in the order of $15,000 to $28,000.
Oh, mate.
So you know, I suppose I've been sort of economically forced to land in Sydney.
Anthony,
and you know, it doesn't end there. You know, New South Wales were you know, had granted me an exemption to fly out of here to Brisbane, but only on the proviso that I could reproduce a negative COVID test, and the commercial airlines wouldn't fly me, so I arranged a commercial, you know, air charter, put them on standby, and that was $9,000.
Anthony,
you know,
can I ask you this? Are you now? Your mum, we're just looking at photos of her. She looked like she travelled a lot around the world.
Yeah.
You now instead of having to look forward to seeing her and farewelling her in person. Were you? I mean, now you have a funeral to plan for. I mean, and when is that? And what?
Yeah.
Where do you even start? And
I mean, this all happened so fast. I mean, she was diagnosed only 3 weeks ago when she fell ill, by the time they figured out that prognosis of what it really looked like, I was then scrambling to get on board. I mean, my stepdad and I don't even know what the funeral arrangements are right now. So, we're going to uncover that shortly. But, here's sort of the real point I want to make. I mean, I could sit here and bash the system all day long, and certainly, New South Wales Health were amazing. I mean, they had proactively called me before I even got on the flight. They had their exemption plan all laid out, and while I was on the flight, they'd actually executed it. Queensland Health, on the other hand, were silent, and it wasn't until I landed and I had to start chasing them up, to get things moving. Now, I didn't receive a single proactive phone call from Queensland Health. I don't recall. Yet New South Wales were on the phone constantly to me, calling the hotel room. But I don't want to focus on that. The point I want to make right now is this point about compassion.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be compassionate policies, but I think these policies are very confused about what compassion means.
Yeah.
And there's two aspects to this.
Anthony,
I mean, we saw a football game in Queensland last night with crowds, with people not wearing masks. That's okay, that's fine. Yet we can't find a way, this long into this pandemic, to let loved ones see a dying relative, or in Anthony's case, not get there in time.
It's heinous. It's so awful. And
it's
mate,
heartless.
You've got to say goodbye now. Tell us before we go, and because we'll touch base with you again, my man. You are in quarantine now for a bit. Tell us just something about what you'd like to have said to your ma, something about her, something.
Yeah, look, my mum and stepdad spent a great part of their life serving their communities of Mossman and Port Douglas, north of Cairns. Pete was the local vet. His veterinary practice was virtually a community centre. I mean, back in the 90s, you could go and in between surgeries, smoke an unfiltered cigarette and have a coffee with him. And they're sort of great stories. I'm not even scratching the surface with Pete in North Queensland. Like it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then, my mum was the bank manager in the same area there, and she would constantly skirt the rules to get hardworking Aussies access to reasonable banking services. And so, all this great compassion that they've shown to their communities, just isn't getting returned here from the Queensland government. And I don't want to say it's appalling, but it kind of is appalling.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable what they did for those communities.
Good on you, mate.
I just can't get anything back.
Anthony, we're going to, unfortunately, look, we'll talk to you in the break, but we do. You have all of our love, all of our thoughts and all of our prayers, and we feel some of your pain, not nearly enough, but we appreciate you being on and telling the story, and hopefully we can move towards some resolution in all this horrid pain that people are experiencing. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Anthony.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more today right after this.